What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Because I don't know where we at. July 14th, 2026. Right now it's 10 o'clock over here in the evening. Smoke it if you guys got it. Drink it if you guys got it. Chew it if you guys got it. And without further ado, I figure instead of the Rochambeau, we might as well just figure out what the government's up to today, right? So fuck it. Instead of music, I'm gonna just get smooth into it. Let's go.
What in the world happened here? This is so suspicious.
A very, very scary situation. All of these folks were sleeping very early this morning when they woke up to a loud boom and then went out to the street to see car pieces scattered everywhere on the street. And the images that we're seeing are pretty dramatic. This happened on 12 Congressional Lane in a gated neighborhood here in Totowa, New Jersey. We know one person was injured, but we don't know their condition at this time. And fire officials preliminarily believe a man started his car around 5:40 this morning when it exploded, and the explosion may have been sparked by an acetylene tank leak in the car. But as you can imagine, just caused quite the scare here this morning. And I spoke with neighbors who described what they saw and heard.
We heard an explosion around 5:30 in the morning, and it was very loud. It sounded like a giant boom. So that's the first thing to say. And we got up and we looked out the window. We saw like the remains of a car. And the car exploded, no fire, just a concussive blast. The windows that faced where the explosion happened, all the windows were blown in, just pieces of the car inside the house.
My question happens to be, how did anybody survive this? They say that the driver that started this car was just injured, but they could just be sweeping this under the rug too. So the next question happens to be, who was the driver? Because a lot of whistleblowers, a lot of scientists, a lot of people with information are really being taken out lately in mysterious ways. They say the individual whose car exploded was a welder, but if you remember Anthony Chavez, one of the quote-unquote missing scientists, he was actually an HVAC worker, but for whatever reason, the police report said he was doing an experiment with an unnamed scientist before he had disappeared. I saw this very interesting clip off Machka's channel. The creator behind this video is Moira the lawyer.
Biotech executive pushed off 25th story in Miami condo. This is a weird one. I talk a lot here about high-level scientists going missing and worse. This case is full of crazy facts. Justin Zelen worked in biotechnology. He was a 35-year-old man. One day, a strange, unkempt man is seen following him into his condo building in Miami in February, holding bottles of alcohol. Just days later, Justin Zelen makes a call to 911 asking for help. He can be heard telling a person named Sasha to get away from him. Apparently, Sasha is the nickname he called this guy, Corey Hutterly. It's the same guy who had followed him into his building days prior, and who was ultimately charged with second degree. Officers showed up to the scene and found Justin on the ground. They also saw Hutterly, or Sasha, trying to leave in a disturbed state. Officers searched his backpack and found ketamine, a narcotic. A very weird case indeed. What happened here? Well, the defense says Justin and Sasha were friends, and Sasha was staying the night at the condo. They say Justin, the victim here, was the one having the mental break, ranting about a homeless man out to get him and that he must have hurled himself from the balcony in his delusion. Law enforcement and prosecutors disagreed as they charged Sasha, Corey Hutterly, with serious crimes. I don't know what happened here, but it does fit a pattern. Sometimes I've seen a man takes in an unstable person to his home for some reason. Kindness of their own heart or other reasons, and it comes back to bite them.
It could be easily explained that these guys were friends, they may have been lovers, they took narcotics, delusion took over and things got out of hand. Calling him by a different name and then saying he didn't know him also kind of sounds very similar to something like MK Ultra. But as Machka pointed out, this guy definitely was a scientist. He was a part of cell therapy, targeted oncology, immunology, and autoimmune disease therapeutics. So we may be talking about cancer, and we do know when you get a little too close to something, you get taken out. But moving on, I had spoken about this nonsense a few months ago, and back then, this was still waiting for approval. Well, guess what? It's been approved by the United States. Of course it has. And what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this. The launch of a mirror satellite that can reflect sunlight and illuminate the Earth at night, giving sunlight on demand. So, as of right now, this is in its experimental phase, but the United States has approved the plans for the test to go through so they can launch this up into the sky to see how much sunlight can hit any designated area they choose. In my mind, I'm thinking now we are ants under a magnifying glass, but think of all the creatures, the plants, the crops that require the night. For some creatures like bats that are extremely vital to the ecosystem, they'll die off if they don't have the night. Because if this were to go wrong and they were to stop reflecting the sunlight, it would still cause constant light pollution that would just destroy these natural habitats for these nocturnal creatures. But they don't care because they are terraforming the earth for something. We can see it with all these chemicals they're spraying nonstop in the skies. The FCC's approval reads that this is emergent technology that advances American leadership in space, and that petitioners' and commenters' concerns do not warrant either denial or additional conditions on this authorization. So again, they don't care, and supposedly this will be used for supporting search and rescue missions, providing additional light for solar farms at dusk or dawn, and extending daylight for certain construction operations. I wouldn't doubt one bit this being for data centers. And if this test is successful, and right now it's going to use the radio frequencies needed for this technology, and the FCC and the government likes what it sees, the next step, and as this article puts it, will be to deploy a bunch of quote-unquote space mirrors. The type of mirrors they'll be using are called Mylar mirrors, and that's very important. I had spoken about these mirrors once before.
I had to pause real quick. Just to say this. First of all, let's elevate real quick. All right. All right, look. I'm glad they can talk about shit like that. Now, Mylar. I got some examples of Mylar on board right now. However, it's tucked way in the back. I don't feel like going through all that shit. But if you don't know what Mylar is, it's like a flimsy piece of plastic, but it's like aluminum foil. Mylar is the same material that's made out of those balloons you take to parties that say congratulations or happy birthday, those little metallic balloons, that's Mylar. So taking and stretching that material, the silver side, and aiming it or directing the sunlight to bounce off of it and then angling it so it beams down on the earth. Now here's what I got for you with that. He already mentioned the bats and, nocturnal creatures that come out and feed at night. That is one problem because those types of nocturnal animals do help regulate our ecosystem. And with the killing of the bees, you guys recall killing of the bees? I'm partial to that shit because I'm not a dumbass. You feel it? Like, I'm growing my own food. I'm growing my own garden. I do not have livestock yet, but we'll work on it, if it's in his will. I'm not sitting up here fucking around with the GMOs and all none of that shit. My tomatoes come from whatever the fuck I put in them. You know what I'm talking about? And they taste different too. You can tell the difference. Your strawberries, you grow them at home, they taste a little bit different. You know what I'm talking about? So that's neither here nor there. That's just, just a little hint what you guys should be doing as a collective with your own property if you have some. And if you do not have some, that's not an excuse, because I was living in a hotel room and grew a full fucking little miniature herb garden and shit and was using that with a fucking, what you call that? The little electrical plug-in, electric griddle. I was getting it popping with that. There's a lot of electric plug-in shit, but then that comes to needing electricity, correct? So you need to harvest the sun. What about cloudy days? Where's your electricity? Where's your generators at? These are things that you need to think of because what I wanted to say about public transportation and shit in the garbage trucks was that apparently they're getting ready to start they're thinking about putting cameras on top of garbage trucks and shit. You know what I'm talking about? So they want to collect as much data from your cell phone, from your spending habits, to even your trash, bro. Like, they want to see what you shop for. They're going to triangulate that information with your address, triangulate that information from your address to your cell phone, start sending you shit that you don't give a fuck. Well, you might give a fuck about it, but that's intrusion of data collection. You know what I'm talking about? You're in a surveillance state. They're watching you from miles away. We can read your license plate from space. So if you think that you're like, what have you? How you doing, Miss Mitchell? Welcome to the channel. If you think, you guys are more than welcome to join the panel. But however, I'm just gonna get this information out, and I'm gonna scuttle the fuck on. But appreciate you for stopping by. You feel it? Good night. I ain't gonna say sweet dreams. That's for your dude to say. But y'all take care. Stay safe out there. However, we're under surveillance. Your cell phone. I normally would have my cell phones taped up, looking like a crazy person. It's just that I know too much, and I'll let them finish talking about it. But it gets real dystopian when you're rolling. When you have your garbage men. You know, they just trying to get paid, take out your trash and shit, but the company says we're wiring your whole truck with cameras. So now not only are your garbage men acting like those little meter maids, but they're scanning your house. I mean, you could have been out there chilling, just on the run and shit, smoking a blunt on the porch in Louisiana and shit, and garbage, you didn't think shit of it. Garbage truck rolled past, you just out there blazing it with the homies and shit like, yo, we just rocked that nigga. That garbage truck rolls by, you don't know nothing what the fuck is going on. All of a sudden, because it's a live feed. The FBI is collecting the info, the local PD is collecting the info. You feel it? So, stay positive. Real talk. That's some good chinfo. Kinfolk. That's all you can do, bro. You gotta stay positive. That's all you can do. However, you still need to stay abreast of current events and know what the fuck is going around in your state, your country, other countries, because when it all comes down to the end of the day, the World Economic Forum exists, and the big people like BlackRock, State Street, and your president, not even your president, everybody's under control. Let me shut the fuck up and get back to what the fuck they were talking about, though. I'll be right back.
In Baghdad back in 1991, the United States wanted a
Oh, pause. Another good question is, hey, can y'all hear what he's saying? I need to type that shit in because we be an hour into this shit and people was like come in like, I don't know, I can't hear shit. That's where I should have started from in the first place. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me. I'm pretty sure that's default. On a Mac, I couldn't tell you where the fuck the microphone is at. I could Google it, but I don't even want to get into what happened after Steve Jobs. I ain't even gonna get into that shit. But can you guys hear the audio? That's the question. I'm gonna move forward though.
Complete and perfect victory in the Gulf conflicts. So they were going to have the voice of Allah speak to those in Iraq to overthrow Saddam. Not just that, they were going to use very lightweight reflective mylar orbital mirrors, put them in the sky to project the image of Allah. And the only reason they did not go through with this, not because of the technology, but because they had no idea what Allah looked like and they did not want to take the chance. So these same exact mirrors they're going to be launching in the not so distant future. They were once going to be used in a quasi-Project Bluebeam PSYOP. And aren't we just in a time, as coincidence may have it, that we're just hearing a lot about UFOs and aliens lately? And talking about aliens, we had James Franco hyping up this whole alien stuff, and he was going to have this big reveal for July 13th, and this is what he revealed. It's clearly a person in a costume, more than likely James Franco himself. Look at him, looking like a whole big bumbleclots. And for the most part, a lot of these actors are just puppets, mouthpieces for the so-called powers that be. And the only reason why I found this to be interesting whatsoever was due to the date that this was hyped and dropped, July 13th. Because I have said in a few videos, even going back for a couple years now, to make sure to write this date down due to this man right here, Geordie Rose, and this very infamous video clip.
we're coming to your planet. You gotta be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world.
Like I said before, he did not pull that date out of his behind. He did not pull that date out of thin air. And that date is exactly 2 weeks to the day that CERN will be turning back on the Large Hadron Collider, but this time the High Luminosity Collider. And they got this probed individual. They got this in the actor. I had to redo that a couple times, but they got a Hollywood actor, once again, like we've seen time before with Hollywood, even going back to 9/11, to push a certain date. And what did James Franco just happen to connect this date to? Aliens, just like Geordie Rose did. This is not me saying that James Franco has any insider knowledge like Geordie Rose would, the founder or the money man behind D-Wave, Demon Wave, the quantum computers. James Franco is just there to push along the message, July 13th and aliens. And as I also said before, it's very interesting how Geordie Rose went from this whole quantum computers to now building robotic bodies to put the AI quantum computers inside. There's something up with this date, July 13, 2030, and also, according to this website right here, anyway, phasesmoon.com, there will be a buck moon, a full moon, and CERN just happened to shut down during a full moon, the strawberry moon.
Okay, enough. Here we go. 7:13. You wanted it? Here it is. I delivered.
But moving on, city officials are trying to find another way just to make the world that much more dystopian. These are the city officials over in Florida. Listen to this nonsense.
Very interesting things that we are exploring right now with AI. Code has already looked at a software that will put cameras on trash trucks that drive up and down every single street. And that software has the ability to identify bad roofs, broken windows.
I just said
We could easily, if we deploy this, we could look at saying, tell us when there's construction material at the curb. Because if someone's got an entire tub and a kitchen at their curb, it's likely they're doing a remodel that needs a permit. So we're not there yet. We've demoed it and we've looked at it.
Demoed it.
The issue then becomes, well, what if we get 3,000 of them a week? Then we don't even have a manpower issue to resolve. So we're exploring how and to best deploy it,
Automated
figuring out
trucks.
what the costs are. But there are some very unique and innovative AI software tools that are
Robots.
coming out to help code
It ain't safe.
with some of these issues.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Sir?
And just in case it doesn't get any more dystopian than that, more and more locations are expanding their use of AI in their 911 systems.
Fairfax County is expanding its use of artificial intelligence to respond to your 911 calls. The county says some new AI technology will transcribe and identify critical information from a 911 call as that call is coming in. That should allow first responders to send out a drone more quickly while dispatchers gather more details about the emergency to relay to the police or firefighters. Fairfax County says this AI system is designed to help, not to replace, their 911 dispatchers.
So I just got in for my morning jog and I had to call the freaking police because there was a man butt-ass naked at the park behind some bushes self-pleasuring himself. And Atlanta Police Department, I have a problem with y'all because why is it that I had to call you guys twice? Because the first time I called, y'all transferred me to an AI chatbot, which then hung up on me. So it forced me to call back and explain how dire of a situation this was because you have children running and playing at this playground and there's a man over here playing with himself. And then to top it all off, because the AI chatbot hung up on me, it sent me a text message to try and report my issue. AI does not need to be replacing 911 operators because
Hey, does anybody see how this could be an issue? Especially if that was not just a dude in the park in the bushes pleasuring himself to some kids. That's disturbing as fuck. However, comma, let's rewind and say this is a home invasion and it's 6 niggas outside with the piece on them and shit. That's the last thing you heard, and then they come in the door and you up under the bed talking to a robot. And then it hangs up on you and tells you to... I don't know if I've ever told you, but you guys need to protect yourselves, okay? Low key, I know some individuals do not like fucking pew-pews, okay? But I believe at this day and age, it is important for you to get out of your comfort zone, you know what I'm saying, and start preparing and think about your own personal safety, because if a city is overwhelmed by crime or what have you, there's not an officer dedicated to you. The officer is going to go to the call in which it received in order of precedence and in order of emergency level. Red all the way down, like, you know, severe to like, okay, well, we can put this call on hold. So with all the dispatchers and those who are qualified to even be dispatchers that can handle stress coming in over the phone, there's not that many people that are willing to take that job because it's a high stress job, but it is a high paying job. I would know. All right. So basically, your city will be overwhelmed. The phone system may become tied up. You never know if the phone system is even going to work. Once criminals know that the phone networks are down and the power's out, remember, power outages is a fucking criminal's playground. You think about it, and the power goes out, they know that the power's out, and they verify with everybody around them that the power's out and nobody got cell signal. It's fucking playtime. Ooh, and I know what neighborhood I'm going to. Mentality. That's just some fucking food for thought, man. Pull your head out your ass. I don't waste my breath for no fucking reason. I'm gonna let this nigga keep talking about his 911 experience and why it's important for you guys to stay up, stay frosty, stay strapped and dangerous. I promise you, if you gotta go to a training academy, go look up some YouTube videos, learn how to operate a firearm, get something simple that you can control and you can handle. When you go to purchase your first firearm, speak with the gunsmith. Correct, that's been motherfucking confirmed. All right, they know what they're doing. I know some people get the shakes and shit, enroll in a fucking training program, a school where you can get a certificate or some shit, boost your little nuts up and what have you. But regardless, this is a necessary need to do. Copy. At this point in time, this is a necessary need. And if you're not comfortable with a firearm, well, good luck. Get a pocket knife, grab a kitchen knife, and pray. Go.
I'm sitting here trying to explain to this chatbot what the hell is going on, and it's not understanding me, so it hung up on me and sent me a freaking link to report the problem. This is a major problem, and y'all need to handle that immediately, because what if somebody was in danger and they had to try and call the cops secretly, but you're transferring them to AI chatbots? What?
That video was from Dude in the Do-Rag, and that is so true. We have heard stories, multiple stories, where people, they are in dire situations and they have to use code words in order to get 911 to come out so they don't get in any trouble themselves. And the 911 operators, because they're human, they have understood the lingo being used, and that person ended up getting rescued.
9 more officers arrested for using block cameras to intimidate and stalk citizens. This brings the total to 21 officers arrested for this.
Just yesterday in Greene County, a deputy was arrested and fired. Quinique?
I gotta pause on that too. I didn't think about that part, but just in case you guys don't understand what that cold word situation is, some people are in witness protection programs. Some people are in negotiated contracts with law enforcement due to them being maybe informants or maybe undercover. Good copy. So there's all different type of scenarios where you would need a code word that dispatch would understand, you know, that you could be on the phone, and everyone on this, because they should be briefed on it if they're working that county, that we have this many people that have X amount of code words, and this is when we silently roll PD. Okay, I could call and say, you know, I'd like to order some cheeseburgers, because you're at gunpoint. You know, you could be a high profile contact and you want to establish that code word. It's like, hey, Get on the phone with your guy right now. I promise you, get on the phone with your guy right now. Your fucking brain is you know this. No, you probably don't. You probably seen it in movies though. Me personally, we ain't gonna get into that. So yeah, I'd like to order some cheeseburgers, and make sure that you put extra salt on my fries. Extra salt. Yeah. And honestly, I'll go for the 5-piece nugget meal. The 5-piece nugget meal and a supersized Coke. A supersized Coke. No ice. No ice. Use your imagination, nigga.
Goss accessed Flock data for personal reasons multiple times over the course of 3 months without law enforcement justification. A similar story in South Georgia. 5 Albany officers were arrested on Monday. You see their names listed there. The GBI says an internal audit found that the officers used the Flock system multiple times for non-law enforcement purposes. All of those officers have been fired. And just a few weeks ago in Cherokee County, our own Atlanta News First investigation found these 3 deputies have been fired for allegedly misusing Flock. Sergeant Mike Creedon, Lieutenant Chris Ryan, and Deputy Cynthia Jodeci were all charged earlier this week.
Let me remind you, these are only the ones that we know about. These are being investigated. People are finding that this is happening in other towns as well.
And if the police are doing this, abusing these Flock cameras, and I'm sure many more are still doing so without getting caught, I just wonder what happens if, let's say, another country were to merge with our military and have access to our technology and have access to our surveillance. I just wonder how much they will abuse as well. But in this next video clip, it couldn't be any more evident that the merger between the United States and Israel's militaries will be coming.
Well, Prime Minister, will that drawing down of foreign aid from the United States to Israel be compensated by the proposal to have a merging of some sort between our Pentagon and your military?
Yeah, I'm calling it from aid to partnership. So we take away the money that is given to Israel, which is one part, but the other part is we co-invest in equal measures in the new technologies that are needed to give our military and your military the advantage. So there are some unbelievable projects. So we invest jointly and take the fruits equally. You move from aid to partnership, and I think that represents what Israel is. Now remember, the other thing is that we share with America unbelievable intelligence to save American life. General Keegan has said that when he was working in American intelligence, what Israel was giving the United States was worth, he said, 5 CIAs. I'm not trying to be mathematically exact, but Israel's contributions to America's defense are important. Our technology is incredible. And since yours is incredible too, and you're the great champion of liberty and free markets, I think the meshing of our 2 great countries of talent would strengthen America's position, competitive position, both in the economic marketplace and in the military battlefield in many important ways. So that's the idea. The idea is to take away aid, one-sided aid, and move it into bilateral.
They say that the United States has to vote for this, but there is no vote. Netanyahu has already decided on this, and this will happen. The whole voting stuff for this is just a visage. But it's not just the military, it's also merging the technologies together, and I'm sure the United States is not an equal partner in this. So with all this stuff we're seeing being collected on people through Flock, through these garbage trucks, through other means, I can only imagine they have access to all the data that's been collected on us. This is absolute insanity. Then I remember Executive Order 5240.01, and all the news outlets were saying this is crazy talk, the United States military would never fire on civilians, even though that language was in the actual DOD, but they said this would never happen. But what if half the military was not even of the United States?
Okay, so Microsoft released a new program in which it allows AI to take screenshots of your computer every 3 seconds and then store it locally on the device. I'm going to tell you whether or not this affects you, your phone, and how to opt out. The program itself is called Copilot Plus PC, and it runs on Windows 11. Released it initially back in 24, but because of pushback due to privacy concerns, they pulled it back and made it so that you have to opt in. However, opt-in is tricky. When they ask if you want to opt in, they're not asking you, will you allow us to take screenshots of your computer? They're saying, do you want to save snapshots? That is the opt-in. So if you don't know what it is, of course you're going to say yes. That's by design. Who doesn't want to save a snapshot on their computer? But it's asking you, will you allow it to take screenshots of your computer every 3 seconds? Ever connected your phone to your computer at any point in time? Whatever information is being shared from your phone to the computer, that is also being screenshot. Or having a conversation with somebody on your computer via any messaging app, it is also saving those conversations. If you don't have it enabled on your computer, but that person does, it's also saving those conversations on their computer. There is a breach. What if somebody installs malware unexpectedly on your computer? Then they'll have access to every 3-second screenshot for as long as you've had that system. Any of your banking, any of your documents, any of your private conversations, how do we opt out? Put the directions up on the screen, screenshot, or save this for later. This is how you're going to turn recall off. Okay, this is going to move fast. This is how you're going to remove recall completely. Okay. This is how you're going to delete all existing snapshots that it has already taken. Love you. Stay safe, drink your water.
So this is real. It was released by Microsoft to Windows devices, and the idea is to create a photographic memory of your PC. So what they say is that you'll be able to quickly find, search, and resume anything you've done on your computer. Core idea is instead of relying on the traditional searches, you can use natural language like thin pizza crust recipe, and the computer will know what that is. It'll go back through those screenshots and it'll be able to resume that web page or document. So it sounds like it could be a good or useful idea, but the issue comes with the privacy. Now, Microsoft says, according to this, that they don't have access to any of that information, none of the screenshots. It is stored locally on the hardware and it's encrypted and there's no way that they can get into it. So if you believe that, that's great. Most people would say that's probably not the case. But there is another concern, and that's just like malware. Anybody who gets access to your computer via bad software, click a link or anything that gets downloaded onto your computer, then all of a sudden they can get access to your local drives. And if they get access to the screenshots, then you're going to be screwed because it's going to have your banking info, any conversations you've had. It's going to have anything intimate that you've done maybe on there that you've shared. If you've connected your phone and went through your contacts, it's going to have everything. So the best thing to do is just shut it off. Allegedly, it says that the filters in the software are going to skip private browsing, protected videos, which I guess would probably be like intimate stuff, sensitive info like passwords and credit cards by default, and filtered websites. But again, this is if you trust what they're telling you. I think most people would probably not say this is the case.
I saw that video from Wall Street Apes, and yeah, I do not trust them one bit. They are doing all they can to collect data anywhere and anyhow they can. Like Larry Ellison said, we're living in a state where they're making sure we're on our best behavior.
They got them, and they got a lot of them. I was asked by a commenter to do a video on the men that wear pearl necklaces in Hollywood. I know many of you in my comment section are going to say it's just a fashion trend that started in the early 2000s. And some of it is going to need a little bit of explaining. However, I feel like the more images I show you, the more it'll make sense. Let's just call it free advertising, if you will. Could it be a fashion trend? Sure. But if we know anything about Hollywood, there's a deeper meaning to everything that they do. Justin Bieber loves his pearl necklaces. And not just any kind of pearl necklaces, sometimes they have these kids' charms on them, which kind of reminds you of the theme from the Yummy video. Jaden Pinkett Smith would be another one. And it was also interesting to me how during the time that he was wearing his pearl necklaces, he went from this to this. And I believe in a few outings, there were some sides. MGK is another one. MGK really, really loves his pearl necklaces. In fact, he took this fashion trend to an entirely different level, with pearls all over his face. Pharrell Williams. Some like them long and dangly, while others like them tightly wrapped around their neck, like Christian Combs, P. Diddy's son, who wears them often. Dave Bautista would be another one who looks completely unrecognizable, by the way, in which he likes to pair his sometimes with his Basquiat tattoo. If you know, you know. If you don't know, let me know in the comments and we can circle back to the crown tattoos. Shockingly enough, another one would be Pete Davidson. And you will start noticing a difference between celebrities that wear them and celebrities that don't, but instead, like Jay-Z, gifts them to their minions. And I think that some of you like to believe that the media doesn't know what they're doing when they are giving free advertising for fashion trends. However, it does kind of make one wonder why Hollywood sets trends to begin with, and why they want your children to be engaged in what they're interested in. And you tell me, is it just fashion? Is it free advertising and subliminal messaging? Or is there some kind of power behind this trend that Hollywood men started? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. They got them, and they got a lot of them.
That video came from A Truth for You. Yeah, this is really weird, but then again, it's Hollywood when it isn't something weird and demonic. But back in the day, the term pearl necklace had a meaning of what a man would do on his partner's neck or chest. So it's very, very telling who's wearing these pearl necklaces. And all I can say is, when I'm feeling down or having a bad day, I say, praise Jesus, I am not in Hollywood.
All right, guys.
Well, I guess that's what Hollywood is up to. You feel it? I guess so. It's been confirmed. Anywho, that's where the fuck I'm at as far as research is concerned and shit. July 14, 2026. It got to get worse before it gets worse, and then it may get better. Remember that. Fair winds and following seas on me. Till next time, man, y'all stay safe out there and shit.